All right, for the first time this century and for the first time in boxing history, we have an undisputed four-belt heavyweight champion. This after Oleksandr Usyk beats Tyson Fury by split decision in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I want to welcome in everybody that's listening on the podcast feed. We are also showing this on the YouTube page. So if you're not a subscriber to the podcast, hit that subscribe button. If you're not subbing to the YouTube page, make sure you go over there, hit that subscribe button as well. So where do we begin? It is after 4 a.m. in Riyadh, by the way. And everybody in the hotel that I'm staying at is still buzzing because this was a fight that not only lived up to expectations, but it exceeded them. This was a battle not just between the two best heavyweights in all of boxing. It was a battle between two guys that are on many pound-for-pound lists. I had Usyk going into this fight third on my pound-for-pound list. I had Tyson Fury at 10th on the pound-for-pound list. You're talking about not just two of the best heavyweights in the world. You're talking about two of the best fighters in the world. And this fight played out exactly like that. Let's start with how I scored the fight. I scored it for DAZN 115-112 in favor of Oleksandr Usyk. That means I had 7 rounds to 5 in favor of Usyk, plus the 1- point for the knockdown that he picked up in the 9th round. I gave Usyk the first 2 rounds of this fight. I gave Fury the next 5 rounds of this fight, and then I gave Usyk the rest. So 2, 5, and then a clean sweep by Fury on the back end of my scorecard. And this was a fight that just had a lot of ebbs and flows, right? Like the early part of the fight, you're thinking, all right, Usyk is fighting the same kind of fight we saw him fight against Anthony Joshua. He's closing the distance. He's landing big shots. This is going to go well for Usyk. And then 3rd round, Tyson Fury seems to get a bit of his rhythm back. He hurts Usyk. He goes to the body. He was fighting extremely well. And then there was a moment at the end of the 7th round, I believe, where Fury won the round, but there was like the last 20, 30 seconds that Usyk started to land some shots and started to look like the Usyk from the early part of the fight. Fast forward to the 9th round, and Usyk landed just a titanic left hand that put Fury onto Dream Street. I mean, he looked like Trevor Berbick in the Berbick fight against Mike Tyson. Didn't go down the way Berbick did, but he was stumbling all over the ring, eventually kind of landing in the corner where the referee stepped in and ruled that a knockdown. I've seen some criticism, or at least some questions about Mark Nelson, the referee. Should he have stopped the fight? Was that really a knockdown because Fury wasn't officially down? I thought Mark Nelson did the right thing in that moment. The last thing you want to do if you're a referee in a fight of this magnitude is involve yourself in it. And unless you are 100% sure that the fighter is out, like if you thought Fury was out in that moment, you can't stop the fight. You got to keep the fight going. And look, Fury was about to go down in that corner. Mark stepped in, ruled it a knockdown. I had no problem with that and the way he did that at all. But after that, it was just all Oleksandr Usyk. He took over. He was going to the body. He was throwing power shots. The biggest difference in this fight, statistically, was that Usyk had like a 10% connection advantage in this fight, which you expected because I think Usyk is the more accurate fighter. And then the power shots. You know, the first couple of rounds, Usyk edged the category of power shots. And then the last 5 rounds, he didn't just edge him. He won him big in several of them. So that was the difference for Usyk in that fight. I had a 115-112, and I thought that was a fair adjudication. I didn't agree with the 14-13 card in favor of Fury. That implies Fury won 7 rounds of that fight. I just didn't see that. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight. Don't get me wrong. But I thought 7-5 was the right way to go for this fight. But just a tremendous event. The crowd was lively. I mean, there were 20+ thousand in Kingdom Arena. A lot of Brits came over. Some Ukrainian fans came over. Some locals were there. You had kind of a melting pot of a lot of different people in that arena for that fight. And they spared no expense, clearly, in putting that event together. And it just lived up to expectations. A couple things about this fight in these fighters moving forward. There's going to be an argument to be made that Usyk is number 1 on the pound-for-pound list. I saw Terrence Crawford tweeting out something to that effect earlier. It's like, don't give this guy his flowers. Like, He probably deserves consideration to be number one pound for pound. That's coming from the guy that is number one pound for pound on most lists. Terrence knows what he's seeing. Terrence knows what he's talking about and what he just witnessed with Fury against Usyk. He beat the man that beat the man. He beat the best heavyweight in the world that night. So I think Usyk deserves strong consideration to be number one on the pound for pound list. I also think we're looking at an all-time great fighter. And I'm not talking about all-time great heavyweight because, Usyk's only been a heavyweight for 6 fights. I don't know if you can declare someone, regardless of resume, to be an all-time great heavyweight after 6 fights in the weight class. The all-time great status is more a conversation if Fury had won because he's a career-long heavyweight who has some impressive wins on his resume. But now with Usyk, he is an undisputed champion in the 4-belt era at cruiserweight and now an undisputed champion in the 4-belt era at heavyweight. Incredible accomplishments. Just incredible accomplishments. And he beat some tough guys to do it. He cleaned out the cruiserweight division going up against Briedis and, Murat Gassiev and some good guys, really talented guys, even if they're not big name guys in the cruiserweight division. Then he was up to heavyweight. He takes down Anthony Joshua twice. He knocks out Danny Dubois. And now he beats Tyson Fury for all the belts at heavyweight. He's an all-time great. It's as simple as that. I don't know where you put him on your all-time great pound-for-a-pound list, but he's up there. Whatever list you're making, he's right there on that list. Fury, I started to wonder, what is Fury going to regret in the morning? And maybe he regrets some of the showboating he did in the first couple of rounds of the fight where he opened the door for Usyk to win them on a couple of the judges' scorecards. Maybe he could have been more aggressive because once that third round came, he started to really assert himself and do the things we're used to seeing Tyson Fury do. He knew that Usyk was vulnerable to the body. He kept going downstairs to the body. He's the bigger man. He applied the pressure. He leaned on Usyk, during those rare clinches that they had. He fought like a big man in those middle rounds. He didn't do it very early on, so I wonder if he'll look back at those first couple of rounds and say, maybe if I didn't give them away, this would have been a different outcome. But it was a fantastic fight. It was a phenomenal fight. And the best part about it is that we are going to get this fight again. That's because Turki Al-Sheikh, who is the most powerful man in boxing right now, there's no denying that. This man snaps his fingers and is able to make the fights that all the fans want to see. He made the Fury Ngannou fight, and say what you want about it. That's a big crossover event that cost a lot of money to go and make. He had a great card in December on the Day of Reckoning card, great card in March, and this was a great card on Saturday night. I mean, top to bottom. You had Jai Opetaia in a phenomenal fight with Marius Briedis. Kind of a lot of eerie similarities between Opetaia Briedis 2 and Opetaia Briedis 1, where, in the championship rounds, Marius Briedis almost pulled it off. He busted up Opetaia's nose again. Opetaia busted up his nose as well. These two guys just keep breaking each other's faces over and over again. But that was a terrific fight. Joe Cordina, Anthony Kakachi, that was a good fight. Some controversy there, yes. Kakachi, he caught Cordina after the referee yelled break, I believe in the third round. And when he caught him, it really hurt. It really caused problems for Joe Cordina. But I give Kakachi a lot of credit in that fight. He was hungry. He was motivated. He was the better fighter tonight. And, for Joe Cordina, there was some talk about a rematch afterwards, but talking to people around Matchroom, there's a sense that Cordina probably has to move up and, fight 135 pounds. He'd been killing himself to make 130. And then I get it. You've got the belt around your waist and you don't want to give that up voluntarily. But I think now that he's been beaten, I think going up to 135, trying to rebuild at that weight class is probably the smarter play. So it was a great card from start to bottom. But again, the Fury-Usyk matchup, it was billed as the two best guys in this division, and it was billed as a potentially great fight, and it was. It was everything we could have asked for in a heavyweight fight. It had, a roller coaster type rhythm to it. It had big power shots landed. It had a climactic finish. The 12th round was interesting too. I edged it for Usyk, but I could understand some people out there giving it to Fury. I can see that because Fury had some good moments there. I thought Usyk had more, and again, the power punches, if you look at those CompuBox numbers, they are going to wind up favoring Alexander Usyk in a big way. But, this is this was Alexander Usyk's night. It was his night, and he deserves all the flowers that come with being the undisputed heavyweight champion. And when I look at Usyk, one of the things I was talking about with some people afterwards, like he's going to do the rematch because it's a great fight. There's a pile of money in it. I read, on social media, and reports are that Usyk broke his jaw during the fight and had to go to the hospital after the fight. And if that's true, like, kudos to you, Usyk, as well. I mean, you fight through a broken jaw at heavyweight against Tyson Fury and still close the show in the way that you did. I mean, that's just another page in the legacy of Alexander Usyk. But if I'm Usyk, I take that rematch. And if I beat Fury, I might retire. I mean, he's 37 years old. Like, what else does Usyk have to prove if he beats Fury a second time? He will have 2 wins over Anthony Joshua. He will have 2 wins over Tyson Fury. He will have a win over Daniel Dubois, who in a matter of weeks might be the heavyweight champion. Remember that part of it. This was for the undisputed heavyweight championship, but in a few weeks' time, or less actually, the IBF is going to strip Usyk and make Filip Hrgović for Daniel Dubois for the vacant heavyweight title. That was kind of a known thing going into this fight. What else do you have to prove, man? Like, what else is out there? Do you want to fight Jared Anderson? Like, is a third fight with Anthony Joshua all that interesting? I know the Matchroom people will tell you, yeah, AJ's got a new trainer. Ben Davison is excellent. He's reinvented Anthony Joshua, but I don't know. Usyk is an all-time great, and if they fought again tomorrow, I would favor Usyk to win that fight. After that, there's nothing else out there. Do you really want to see him fight a Filip Hrgović? Does he need to do a Dubois rematch? Was there any real controversy in that fight? He'll have done everything, and at 37 years old, he could retire as a boxing Hall of Famer. So, incredible night in Riyadh. Incredible morning, I should say. I think the main event started like 1:30 a.m. local time. So, people back in the U.S. and the U.K., they got it at a reasonable hour. Usyk and Fury, they had their ring walks late. They were incredible ring walks. Like, all the flair that goes into events like this was really impressive. It was really impressive. But, it was all Usyk's night, and now we see what happens in the rematch. Tell you what, if Fury wins the rematch, it's going to be a big appetite for a third fight as well. I know that, a lot of people will push for AJ against Fury. That's a huge fight over in the UK, but, if it's a competitive fight in a rematch, and I have no reason to believe why it wouldn't be a competitive fight, I don't think Tyson Fury, will look back on this fight and say, I was outclassed. He's look back on this fight and say, I made some mistakes, especially early on. But I do think that if there is a competitive second fight that Fury wins, all of a sudden there's a third fight. And if Fury can win that one, then maybe you get the AJ fight that everybody's kind of been waiting for. So great night for boxing. Great night for Alexander Usyk. Great night for Ukraine. I was talking to Vladimir Klitschko after the fight, and I asked him, like, what does this mean for your country? And he looked me in the eye, and he told me that, right now, in Ukraine, people are dying. Like, literally in this moment, bombs are being dropped and people are dying. But he said for 48 minutes, the people of the Ukraine had something to be proud of. The people in Ukraine had something to celebrate. And that's pretty powerful. Because Usyk, not only does he have the pressure of trying to win a heavyweight championship, but he's got the weight of a country, a war-torn country right now on his shoulders. And he really shined in this fight. So just an amazing night, an amazing performance, and I can't wait to see what's next.